My name is Johanson, and I'm a cancer survivor. I was in 4th grade. I went on a family vacation to Salt Lake City, Utah. Right before we left, my stomach was getting pretty big, it was kind of enlarged. And I went to the doctor, and they didn't really know what it was. They just kind of brushed it off. The minute we landed and got into our house, within an hour, I was having serious trouble breathing. So my mom took me to the Salt Lake City ER, and it was there that I was diagnosed with Burkitt's lymphoma, which is a rare, pretty aggressive form of cancer. So I was actually treated for 2 weeks in the Salt Lake City intensive care unit. They just put a little bit of chemo in me, and it kind of blew up the tumor. So that was, probably the toughest time of my treatment, just those first couple weeks. I don't remember much of it because I was just on so many drugs, but they gave me a 24-hour window to make it back to Portland, and then went to Dornbecker Children's Hospital, where I finished the last 4 months of my treatment. I was treated at Dornbecker for 4 months, and there's some pretty tough times, but the last few weeks of chemo, I came home with my little fanny pack that gave me chemo, throughout a week. It was in July where I was diagnosed. Went back to school in November, and I was bald. So there were definitely some things said oh, look at that guy. So there's definitely some social stigma at first, trying to get through kind of those social barriers of having cancer. And people at that age too, 4th graders, they're oh, cancer. Instead of being viewed as an illness you have to overcome, it might have, some people might have viewed it as almost kind of a disease or a problem with you. So that was kind of a tough time for me socially, just trying to totally alter, the course of my life. There were just some long nights where I'd have, mouth sores, which are big, white open wounds in your mouth, and that's the type of stuff. I'd be up all night. And so it was definitely a tough time in my life, but my family, my friends, just my whole neighborhood and the community kind of rallied around me, and it was really powerful to see, all the outpouring of love and friendship that I got from the Beaverton community. Definitely a tough time, but it was something I'm proud of overcome. It's tougher for my parents than it is for me, because I'm living with the illness, but I'm focused on fighting it every day, when really, my parents, and my brothers too for that matter, my parents, there's nothing they can do about it. They don't know how to, cure cancer. I'm cancer-free now. I've been cancer-free for almost 6-7 years. The nice thing about being, a 4th grader and a little younger is instead of worrying about a million different things, I learned to just, go day by day. I'm just gonna make it through today. I'm just gonna make it through tomorrow. I'm just gonna make it through the next day. And that's something I still use today, whether it's in sports or in school or in life. I definitely have some pretty good perspective. I don't usually get caught up in the little problems in life, because I realize, when your life is threatened like that, when you have to go through the severe things that cancer takes you through, just the little problems in life, I learned to kind of brush those off, whether it's, oh, I sprained my ankle in basketball and out for a week, it's not like I'm laying in a bed in the hospital getting chemo for 4 months. Cancer, kind of showed me life is more fragile than you think, and you should not, take every day for granted. Every day that I live today is a blessing. I'm lucky to, still be living. Especially at that young of age, having to go through so much, when I'm presented with challenges, whether it's in the classroom in a tough class or on the basketball court fighting for a spot on the team, or various challenges I face in life, I just feel that previous ability to go one day at a time and just work really hard and survive something like cancer has kind of taught me a lot on how to kind of overcome challenges today. Basketball was by far and away just my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite sport. The cool thing about basketball is that even when I was struggling from chemo, I could still go out there and just shoot a few hoops. It wasn't like I had to play a full-on game with anyone. And basketball is definitely kind of my outlet to kind of forget about things. When I go out in my driveway on my court in the front yard, you just kind of forget about everything else. That kind of led me to my favorite actually basketball player to watch. His name is Chris Paul. He's a pretty good NBA player. And so when it came time for my wish, for Make-A-Wish, my wish was to meet Chris Paul. He flew me out to North Carolina, which was his hometown, and we spent a whole day together. That wish with him was kind of the light at the end of the tunnel for me. I ended up playing for the Beaverton High School basketball team. It was cool because it was kind of like that Beaverton community supported me when I was going through cancer at that young age, and it was cool in my high school basketball years playing on the varsity team to see that same Beaverton community watching me and our Beaverton basketball team play out on the court. So that was really cool. I started at point guard my sophomore, junior, and senior year. I had a really, really cool experience playing basketball throughout high school. It was just cool to kind of talk to people who knew my story, regardless of having cancer and going through what I did at that age. Like, I'm still, able to go out there and compete today. Being in the situations I am today, like I said, cancer kind of gave me that perspective, on being a kid that was kind of different. Anytime I see someone who looks different or, might be going through something tough, I definitely have an instant kind of connection. People know my story, so I've kind of gotten, to consult with people and kind of help them get through some tough times with my own perspective of going through an illness. Because, these people walk around school every day and you never know what's going on with their relative or their close friend or whatnot. So it's definitely given me some perspective having cancer. The cool thing is when, people bring it up at school, or my friends or my family, it's usually viewed on as kind of a positive note just because of what came out of it. I'm cancer-free and I'm just living my life well, and I got to meet Chris Paul, and I got to design my own Jordan shoe, and just all these super cool things that came out of it. It's definitely, when it gets brought up, it's viewed on as kind of a positive thing. So that's pretty cool. I view cancer as something that I would never want anyone to have to go through. I definitely view cancer as kind of a tragedy. I mean, it's a horrible illness, and it just creates challenges for a lot of people. When I look back at, cancer, obviously I would never do it again. Like, I would never, if you told me I had to go back to 4th grade, I would never wish I had cancer because it was just such a tough time to go through. But at this point, I look at it as kind of a positive turning point in my life. It taught me a lot. I got to, experience a lot of cool things out of it. I'm a lot stronger person because of it, so it's definitely a positive experience for me. At this point in my life, I've overcome it, and I'm kind of content with, how it affected me.